First of all, welcome to this explainer. Okay, if you're anything like me, you've literally just finished SPM. We're standing right at the edge of the diving board, staring down this massive, life-altering decision of what on earth we're going to do next. It's a moment filled with so much excitement, but let's be totally real here, it is also incredibly daunting. Suddenly, we're expected to just map out the rest of our lives? No pressure, right? But hey, don't worry, because today we are going to navigate this huge transition together, looking at it straight from the perspective of a student trying to choose their very first university.
So, here's our roadmap for today. We're going to start with the reality of the post-SPM choice, then look at courses and rankings. After that, location and facilities, balancing fees and staff, reveal the ultimate deciding factor, and finally tackle the big one, to study or not. These are the 6 absolute must-weigh factors before we make any moves.
All right, diving into Section 1, the post-SPM choice. We really need to acknowledge just how overwhelming stepping out of secondary school actually feels.
Coming from a super structured high school environment, this transition, it can feel like total chaos. Suddenly, our path just splinters into a dozen different directions. But this ultimate university mind map perfectly organizes all that chaos into 6 manageable bubbles. Courses offered, rankings, location, facilities, fees, and teaching staff. Whenever we start feeling swamped by those glossy brochures and packed open days, this is our ultimate survival guide to keep us totally grounded.
Generally speaking, choosing a university isn't just about figuring out what dorm you'll be sleeping in for the next few years. It profoundly affects who we become and lays down the actual foundation for our entire future career. The people we're going to meet, the way we learn to think, and the environment we grow in, all of that requires incredibly careful consideration.
Moving right along to Section 2, courses and rankings. Let's dig into the academic side of things. Basically, what we study and where we study it.
Firstly, we've got to talk about the programs themselves. We need to look for courses that actually align with our own personal interests and long-term career goals. It is so ridiculously easy to just pick whatever sounds prestigious to our parents or our friends. But honestly, if we don't genuinely care about the subject, those long, caffeinated nights of studying are going to be absolutely miserable.
So what makes a course genuinely good for us? Well, it isn't just about book smarts. For example, a truly great program should teach practical, hands-on skills that translate directly into the real-world workplace. On top of that, we have to make sure the program is fully recognized by the relevant professional bodies. As a result, it gives us the exact tools and the industry recognition we need to actually land a job the minute we graduate.
Furthermore, once we actually nail down what we want to study, our brains inevitably shift to the prestige of the institution offering it. Yep, this brings us to the notoriously stressful topic of university rankings. As you can see, highly ranked universities usually provide superior academic opportunities and stronger graduate employability. That's just the reality of the reputation and networking power. However, while rankings are a solid indicator of educational quality, they really shouldn't be the only factor we obsess over. In addition, you have to remember that a top-ranked university is completely useless to us if it doesn't offer the specific environment or support system we need to actually thrive and be happy.
And that brings us perfectly into Section 3, location and facilities. Let's shift gears and talk about our daily environment, because remember, we'll be spending years of our lives on this campus.
Besides that academic prestige we just talked about, we have to think about having a safe and comfortable environment. I mean, if we're constantly stressed about our personal safety walking back from the library at night, or if we're just totally miserable and homesick in our dorms, our grades will inevitably suffer, no matter how highly ranked the school is.
Moreover, the physical infrastructure of the campus matters immensely to our day-to-day lives. Top-notch facilities, like modern libraries, fully equipped science labs, and comprehensive sports centers, they drastically improve your learning and living experience. A convenient location is huge, too. Consequently, being close to public transport or having easy access to town cuts down on our travel costs and eliminates massive amounts of everyday stress.
Okay, let's step into Section 4, balancing fees and staff. Brace yourselves, because this introduces arguably the most stressful part of the entire post-SPM journey, the financial reality check.
At the same time that we're daydreaming about state-of-the-art labs and these beautiful, sprawling campuses, we have to face the very heavy reality of tuition fees. We literally have to sit down, calculate living expenses, budget for overpriced textbooks, and start the exhausting, hyper-competitive hunt for scholarships and financial aid.
This represents a massive conflict so many of us face.
I clearly remember staring at a glossy brochure for my absolute dream university. Elite facilities, the exact specialized course I wanted, the whole shebang. But then I looked at the tuition fees and my heart just completely sank. My family simply couldn't afford it without taking on crippling loans. It was a really painful realization having to compromise. Therefore, it's incredibly crucial to have those open, honest, and sometimes awkward conversations about budget with your family super early on, so you can realistically target the right places.
But here's a massive silver lining for you. Even if we're on a strict budget and have to skip the elite fancy facilities, we must prioritize finding a university with an incredible teaching staff. Because at the end of the day, knowledge is power. Experienced, supportive lecturers who genuinely care about our progress, they're going to motivate us to succeed academically far more than a fancy new building ever could. Education delivered by passionate people is what actually opens doors.
We have covered a lot of ground today, which brings us to Section 5. It's time to boil down all those factors from our mind map into the single most important criterion.
Most importantly, while facilities, location, and staff all play giant roles in shaping our university years, there is one thing that I think sits at the absolute top of the hierarchy.
Personally, I strongly believe the courses offered represent the ultimate deciding factor. We have to study something that matches our natural abilities and sparks our genuine interest. If we get this right, almost everything else falls into place. As a result, studying something we actually like drastically increases our daily motivation, which leads to way better grades and vastly improves our career opportunities after graduation. The course is the true foundation of it all.
Finally, we reach Section 6. We need to pivot and address the final looming question that every single SPM leaver asks themselves during this crazy time. It's a massive question. Should teenagers actually further their studies after SPM? Let's step back from the brochures and the rankings for just a second and look at the big picture. In an age of gig economies, side hustles, and viral internet success stories, is tertiary education still genuinely worth it?
Nevertheless, while we constantly see stories online of people succeeding without degrees, we have to look at the statistics and the reality. In today's highly competitive, globalized world, having higher qualifications is an undeniable, concrete advantage. In my opinion, yes, teenagers absolutely should further their studies. Academic paths reliably offer better starting salaries, and they foster critical thinking, independence, and strong communication skills. Additionally, for students who just aren't interested in a pure academic route, pursuing technical or vocational training is an incredibly smart, high-value alternative. To sum up, education, in whatever form it takes, plays an indispensable role in building our future success. In conclusion, we really need to carefully consider all these factors, especially the courses offered when making our post-SPM choices. So, I want to leave you with one final thought. What path will your future self thank you for choosing today? Take a deep breath, weigh your options, have those tough budget conversations, and take true ownership of your post-SPM journey. We've totally got this. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll see you next time.